When I was growing up, the only thing I knew about Vietnam was the Vietnam War. I knew the movie Forrest Gump or Platoon, right? That's my image of Vietnam.
You know, during COVID, I think the very first year of COVID, I think there was only 2 countries in the world that had positive GDP, and Vietnam was one of them.
Wow.
Right?
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. Hello, everyone. Welcome. David, your host here for Leverage Asia. Hello, folks. Welcome to Leverage Asia. Welcome to Leverage Asia, everybody. How many more unicorns can Southeast Asia sustain? Should more people be open to this kind of thing and leverage Asia in that kind of way? Or is this not meant for everybody? Welcome to Leverage Asia. This is your host, David. Today I have someone very special for you. It's my buddy, Anh Tran. Woo! The crowd goes wild. What's up, man? So you've been working out, bro. Like you're buff. What's going on there?
Thanks, dude. I like to keep myself healthy. You know, at this age, we got to stay, in tip-top shape.
Because you're working, I got some chicken for us. And today with McDonald's, guys, it's because I chose the food instead of Anh Tran. Why don't we do the revealing same time?
All right.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Are those wings?
These are wings. You know what's crazy? They used to have these in the United States.
I've never seen them in the U.S.
They're called McWings.
Oh.
They used to be around in the 90s, I believe. I forget. Anyways.
But these are like breaded like KFC. This is like really nice breading.
This is really nice breading and it has the right amount of kick.
Right. Oh, it's spicy.
Yeah.
Oh.
A little bit.
Okay. All right. Let's
give it a shot.
Give it a go. Dude, this is better than most wings in general. I'm serious.
Yeah, they've done a very good job.
There's like all sorts of spices. That batter is like legit. Like there's like real meat inside of this, like real chunky chicken wing meat. Oh yeah, I would totally eat this.
I mean, I think it's one of the best dishes. But all this to show our audience members and as well as folks who don't know that even McDonald's is better in Vietnam.
That is a fact. The guys who run McDonald's, they do a fantastic job. It's tough to compete with the local food because the local food is it's fresher. It's got more herbs. It's got more vegetables. It's just more in line with Vietnamese culture and taste than fast food that comes in, right? Mm-hmm.
Great thing about McDonald's that parallels this conversation in some ways, and I would love for you to introduce yourself a little more to the audiences. This is American, and when McDonald's enters a country, it has to almost become blended into the culture. So Anh Tran, who are you?
Well, my name is Anh Tran, and I was born in Vietnam. I left Vietnam when I was about 4 years old. So I lived there pretty much mainly in California throughout all of my life. Grew up in a small town called Stockton, right outside of San Francisco. Went to UCLA, did my graduate studies with the Coral Institute of Public Affairs up in San Francisco. Worked out of San Francisco for a few years, and then worked in LA for pretty much the rest of my career.
Nice.
And then about a little less than a decade ago, I made the move back to Vietnam.
I thought you were born in America. I was like, literally. I thought, that's why I made the McDonald parallel, but it's more like not the McDonald parallel in some ways.
I never felt like an outsider in the United States, really. I always felt like an American. But I always wanted to be Vietnamese. I wanted to always go back to my roots and, get better at the language, understand the culture better, and more importantly, to take what I learned in the United States and bring it back to Vietnam and grow something.
When I first met you, you introduced me to a movie that you're producing. I was like, wait, what? This guy's a movie producer? Maybe I can have a career as an actor in Vietnam. No, so tell us a little bit about that too.
I kind of paralleled Vietnam to my Chinese American friends that had left America and went back to China around 2004, 2005, right? Some friends went back to Taiwan, some friends went back to mainland, some people went back to Hong Kong, and they just said the world is transforming, and it's transforming around China at the time. And I got to Vietnam for the very first time since I'd left back in 2010. 2010. And I looked out, kind of hung out with people, talked to folks, and it felt exactly like those stories my friends were telling me about China, right? Young population, everybody's kind of hustling. There's this culture of, we've seen the West blow up, right? Grow and become rich, powerful. We're next. When I first got to Vietnam, I could go into business with a couple, well-to-do business people out here that were doing import-export or finance. Or I could pursue kind of like this dream I always had, which was being in movies and television, right? And not because I wanted to be an actor, because I'm just not tall enough, I'm not good looking enough to be on screen, but I thought I could be the business guy behind it. Help produce films, help produce TV shows, and elevate the Vietnamese cinema, if you will, to meet the standards of the West, right? And so I decided to hook up with a really good old friend of mine and to start a production studio. And so for the first few years in Vietnam, I actually dabbled, or actually my full-time job was in film and television. I had brought the Bachelor Vietnam.
Really?
The Bachelor from the United States.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so that was cool. That was a really interesting show that we did.
Ultimately, though, you closed that chapter of your life. Or
Yes.
is it still continuing? Are you still doing that on the side, like producing?
To my wife's happiness, I've closed that chapter of my life, I think. At the end of the day, when you're about to raise a family, it's about what brings in the most revenue.
The moolah. Okay, fair point. Okay, I want to transition a little bit into your professional career right now, because you're doing some awesome stuff here.
So I'm currently the regional lead for Solana Superteam Southeast Asia, right? Originally, I was just the country lead for Vietnam, but Superteam ostensibly is the new markets division for the Solana blockchain. And what we try to do is we try to foster a community of developers, writers, content creators to build the best applications on the within the Solana ecosystem. And so now I help oversee Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia. Right now we have permanent offices in the Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam. Really and we're trying to expand.
You throw some of the best parties, some of the best events out there. I've been to, I think about 3 Solana events so far.
There's a saying in our business, you come for the technology, but you stay for the vibes, right? And that's kind of always been the Solana ethos, right? The tech is second to none, right? We have some of the most brilliant minds in the world building the technology behind Solana, but people stay because of the community, because of what the community's gone through, how they've come out of it. And yeah, we do throw the best parties. We do have the best gatherings and the events.
They are the best.
And the whole idea is that, we want to build together.
What's special about Solana in Asia?
What makes it kind of unique in Asia is that Foundation has invested heavily in various types of projects and super teams and community organizations in the Asian region itself, right? In Vietnam in particular, right? So we initially opened a super team in India, which was the very first market. And the second market we opened up was Vietnam. And the reason why Vietnam is because of how well adapted the blockchain community is here in Vietnam. Yep. I think Vietnam for the last 3 years, according to Chain Analysis, has either been 1 or 2 in the world for cryptocurrency adoption, right? That means most number of wallets, how often people use cryptocurrency in their daily lives, on-chain transaction, et cetera, et cetera. The way we kind of get evaluated from Foundation every year is how well the community does at these global hackathons. And Vietnam has been doing extremely well. I think, in this last hackathon, we were top 5 in the world for number of prizes won, right? Wow. So, and I'm really proud of the community, right? Yeah. We had 6 teams win a prize or get an honorable mention. And that was huge. It's huge for the community. Okay. And the whole idea is that you have these big events, these moments that you build up towards. You test your idea, you validate it against other people, you meet with VCs afterwards, the VCs give you, people like yourself, and they give you real feedback saying you know what, you either need to pivot or you need to continue building this concept out. In the last probably 6 months, you've really seen Solana's technology and its business catch up to each other, right? Solana's always prided itself on being the fastest and the cheapest blockchain in the world. And now we've gotten big deals with companies like Visa, PayPal recently, and you're seeing that these institutional players are now adopting Solana as part of their settlement rails because it's because the technology, I think, is just far better. I think we're usually number one in the world every single month in terms of number of wallets and transactions. In terms of DEX transactions, we've been number one, I think, pretty consistently for the last few months.
Congratulations to Solana. You know, it's been a journey for Solana. If I may ask you, why Asia? Why should people, especially in the United States, be leveraging Asia?
Well, let me talk about Vietnam. Anybody who wants to build a Web3 company in Vietnam, please leverage the founders and the engineers that are out of here. And it's not because the engineers and the founders here are more price sensitive, so i.e. it costs you less to hire an engineer in Vietnam than it does in the United States. Yes, that is true, but that's not the reason. There's a hustle here. It's the energy in the air, right? And I think the big difference is that, you know, most countries as they go through different different kind of financial points where you get a bank account, you get a credit card, you know, start getting loans to like buy houses and homes and everything like that. Yep. I think Vietnam kind of skips a lot of that mid-tier growth in that financial curve because they're trying to push themselves to creating these great companies in the Web3 ecosystem that gets them to the level of their Western counterparts right away. And so because of that hustle mentality, right, paired with the fact that, number one, Vietnam is a super young country, right? The average age is 30 years old.
Very young.
I think we got like 500,000 engineers in Vietnam, and we graduate 50,000 engineers every single year.
Right.
So super high tech centered country, right? Young population, number one, number two in blockchain adoption. Yep. You combine those things and you just have this amazing workforce.
Yeah, I believe that too. You know what's crazy is as I was listening to you respond to this is like the beauty of Vietnam is it's been in 4 different big wars that I can name at least. There's like the war with China, war with Japan, war with France, war with the US. But the beauty of Vietnam is it's still friends with all 4 of them. It's crazy. It's like, I can't say that about every country in the world, actually.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of Vietnam is that its ability to diplomatically work with people. And there's something to be said there. And I see it not only macro, but micro. Anyways, but let me get to this point. Don't you think that it's possible for, like, we have a friend, Ryan Galloway, right? He was interviewed too. Someone like Ryan from Midwest, some place in the United States or Australia could come here, partner with someone from Hue, meet, I don't know, at a Solana hack event, or, you know, training event, and they can create something that truly is Vietnamese brand and go global.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, I think I've been put in a unique position to have been educated and trained in the United States, and I'm taking the best what I know and trying to help the folks that I know out here. Yes, somebody from overseas coming to Vietnam has a lot to learn here, as well as a lot to teach here.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I almost feel like everybody who is going to make a visit to Asia should definitely have Vietnam on that like stop travel by list. In fact, the really crazy thing I heard while I was here, and it was just like, we beat America and kicked them out, is what I heard. That's not what the Americans think about the Vietnam War. Americans think, oh, you know what? We left the country because, you know, we left. No. Actually, if you think about it, that was like a mind-blow moment for me because, like, you know what? They're right. Vietnam won and kicked America out of the country. They kicked them out. And that was like a mind moment for me. So English isn't seen as a colonizing language here.
No.
It's almost like we kicked you out. Some ways we're superior to you, but I like it. I want to learn this because it's better for my opportunities, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And going back to a point you said earlier, there's no animosity. We love the French, we love the Chinese, we love the Americans. You know, so many generations have passed. You just don't carry that burden on your shoulders.
There's a lot to learn from that. But if you think about Vietnam, the contextual defines us, and us is a family. And there is this concept of, I will sacrifice for us.
Yeah. No. I mean, and I think that, like, you know, especially having immigrant parents, you know, that was kind of, listen, I can't recall a time in my life growing up when my mother didn't buy a piece of clothes that didn't have the word sale on it. And it had to be like marked down, right? Completely. I was lucky. My father was a doctor, so we had an okay life, right? He came to the United States. He studied really hard. He got into the best universities, and then he became a medical doctor. Again, got recertified to become a doctor. But even with that, right, we didn't live like this luxurious life or anything of that nature. My parents were very mindful of money, and they were mindful that, like, if they bought a new piece of clothing, if she bought herself a Chanel purse or something like that, that would mean a sacrifice of the kids' education, what the kids ate, the house that we lived in. And it was, you know, I'm sure one Chanel purse would not have affected all of those things, but that is the mindfulness of her, right?
Yeah.
And I think that mentality has, yes, okay, granted, you know, I bought my wife a Chanel purse, and it felt good
Wow.
to be able to.
Yeah, it does feel good
to be able to do that for your wife, right? But
it's a win-win. No, I'm kidding.
It is but that being said, like that mentality of thinking big picture and long and hard about, like, our lives and the community around us, that I learned from my parents, right? The sacrifices they made, and then, but it's not just innate to my parents; it's innate to people in Vietnam and the kids that live here and see their parents do the exact same thing. I mean, look at Vietnam, right? We have multi-generational households, right? That's a foreign concept in the United States.
Yeah.
But, you know, 4 generations living in one home is not a rare thing in Vietnam. 3 for sure. Almost most families are that way.
Right.
And it's because of, it's, you know, that family unit is really important, but it's also thinking about the entire community and having people be a part of it. And when we, you know, this is a long way to say something about Superteam, but Superteam kind of has that same mentality that, you know, we want to elevate the entire community and be mindful of all the folks that are around us in order for the entire community to be lifted at the same time.
I see. Wait, that made me think. Superteam is unique to Vietnam or the region?
No, it's a global thing that came out of Solana.
The foundation has multiple super teams.
Yeah, there are super teams on pretty much all continents now, minus Antarctica.
Okay, well, the Penguins can't do much for you. I don't think they're trading much or developing anything. But okay, so there's a super team at every continent, and you guys all communicate with each other.
Yes.
So the concept of the super team is they're responsible for the community. Is
Correct.
that what it is?
Correct.
And the community consists of devs, business folks, just everyone that
Content creators.
Content creators. Wow.
If you were looking at Solana maybe a year ago, right after the FTX events, a lot of people were fudding the ecosystem.
What does fudding mean?
It's basically talking trash, right? And now it's, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's a top 2 L1 chain on a global scale. So we know what it's like to go through difficult times. But now that the price is much higher than it was maybe a year ago, it's attracting a lot of people into the ecosystem.
That makes sense. Where is Solana right now? What price is it today?
It's somewhere in the 170s or something.
Wow, it's 170 right now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look, you know what's funny? Somebody's going to watch this episode and be like, no, it's at 1,700 now. And then people are going to be like, oh my gosh, I should have bought in at 170.
Yeah, hopefully 2 years from now. Yeah.
Oh, dude, exciting times.
Not financial advice, I promise.
Well, none of this is financial advice, folks. Just stick to the core of this message, which is community. Solana Foundation is a nonprofit that pushes a lot of this, right? It's a foundation. How does Solana Foundation have all the money to do what it does?
I'm not privy to the way the treasury is governed, but you know, I think the good folks at Foundation, there's Foundation and there's labs, right? But the good folks at Foundation have, you know, are some of the smartest people on the planet. They really understand governance, treasury management, and, you know, whatever they've done, right? Keep on doing it because they've done a good job.
Yeah, no, I'm genuinely curious because Solana has weathered many storms, has made many of my friends wealthy, In fact, our good mutual friend threw his entire wedding, which was not a shishi wedding. That was an amazing wedding.
Yeah.
It was all paid
Triple
by...
A.
Yeah, AAA wedding. And he told me, quote, I paid for it with my Solana. Like
Yeah, he was always a fan.
He's a big fan of Solana. Now my business partner is a fan of Solana. He owns a lot of Solanas. And I think he got in like when it was 2 digits. So I'm like, wow, that guy has money. So anyways, no, this is great. Well, look, I know your time is precious. Thank you so much. I hope you come back to Leverage Asia. You will?
Absolutely.
How much did you pay for that art? I forget.
10 grand.
10 grand. Oh, okay. But you spent 10 grand on a piece of art.
It was for charity. Come on.
Yeah, it was for charity. But it must have been painful. Like, no?
It's crazy. I was just following instructions and I like survived. I grew my company to get our first investor. We had a few thousand subscribers. And I was sitting there like, oh my God, is this real? And that's also how I got my parents to let me continue running my business because now we had like a credible investor.